Hello, my name is Courtney Withers. For this week, I picked When Sophie Gets Angry, Really, Really Angry by Molly Bang. This book came out when a lot of us were children, so I hope that you read it as a child because it's an important book, I think, and if not, then I'm glad I'm showing it to you now. So this little girl named Sophie is playing with her beloved gorilla when her sister comes and takes it away. And her mom sides with her sister, and Sophie tries to get away from them, but then she falls over a truck and she just gets mad. And children love to talk about it because they experience this literally every day. This is a daily occurrence for them. So to talk about it, about somebody else, they love it. That's my experience anyway. So Sophie gets mad and she roars a great red roar. I love this art here as the roar kind of stretches across the page. But Sophie has a way of dealing with her anger. When she gets angry, she runs. She runs and runs and runs, and then for a little while she cries. And that's okay, because when you're angry, a lot of times you're kind of sad too. So she cries, and then she climbs a tree, and she looks at the sky, and she looks at the ocean, and she starts to feel better. And when she feels better, she goes back home. And so once she goes back to her spending time with her family again, I love this picture here where it says everything's back together again. And you see this puzzle that they're doing. There's some symbolism built into this art that I think is really impactful, something to kind of unwrap with children you're reading with. So to quickly kind of go over the criteria for evaluating a picture book, the illustrations definitely correspond, complement, and enhance. I think I brought a couple of examples of that out. I didn't see stereotyping in it at all. I think the plot is very appealing to children. Going along with that, it's definitely a worthwhile theme to explore and totally appropriate for children this age. It's something that they want to talk about and a really age-appropriate way to talk about it. So, I read this in the library today because I did a story time on feelings. That's what I do for my internship. I do story time. And so, since this week is all about reading aloud, reading deeply, and reading religiously, that's one of the reasons why I picked this book. It's a great read aloud to a group because it's an important topic, it's an engaging story, there's chances to really get expressive. And then there's some deeper things I think about reading deeply with young children, or any child really could get use out of this book. We're going to pull out some self-reflection and some thoughts about dealing with our feelings, It's a great tool for that. So, since we're talking about read aloud this week, I wanted to take the chance to share some thoughts about what I think makes a really good read aloud to a group. Of course, when we talk about read aloud, we're not just talking about to groups. We're talking about with our children, one-on-one. I hope a lot of us will have the opportunity to do that because it's so important. But we also, if a lot of you go into professions as teachers or whatever you do, have the opportunity to read aloud to small groups or large groups, and that's what I do. It's a skill I worked hard to get good at, so I wanted to share some thoughts about what makes a really good read aloud. First, select your book very carefully. I won't give parameters on how I think you should do that because age and your objective is going to be everything there, but I'm going to say when in doubt, choose a strong narrative. Everyone likes a strong narrative. And along with that, read your book several times so you're really familiar with it before you take it to an audience. Second, this seems really obvious, but you gotta emote. Get expressive, That's what engages audiences of all ages. Of course, you're going to express differently with preschoolers than you are with 6th graders, but I think as women especially, you kind of catch us in that, she kicks, she screams, she wants to smash the world to smithereens, kind of sing-songy thing. No, you got to get into it. She kicks, she screams. So that's going to get their attention, and I believe it's going to scaffold in another level of reading comprehension because you're showing the plot through your voice. Last, I'm going to say take your time when you read. Ask questions. This is one of the most important things you can do, is ask the children questions. In this, I would pause and say, what would you do in this situation? Like when she took the gorilla, we talked about the library. How would that make you feel? How do you think Sophie feels? And if they want to share their thoughts and interrupt you, you can't have chaos, but they can ask you a question, or they can say, I think this. And don't shoot. If it's appropriate, then take the time and have a conversation around the book, because that's really, I think, what's going to have the lasting impact. The story itself is important, but then the experience that you create and the thoughts that you help them think through, I think, is really what's going to stick with them. So that is the book and some thoughts about reading aloud. I hope it was helpful.